All right, good evening. So my Land Cruiser, like all 4.7s, will inevitably, or UZJ100s, whatever you want to classify it as, had a pretty nasty, getting worse exhaust, either manifold or exhaust manifold with gasket tick that would go away at after warmed up. It took a while to kind of come to that conclusion because if you spend any time on the forums, you'll know that this is not a job that anyone really wants to tackle from a cost-wise or a time-wise. You know, if you look online, if you look at anywhere, you know, I Hate Mud or any of the big forums, it really comes to the final conclusion this job is a pain in the ass. It takes between 8 and 14 hours, depending on how many sides you have to do. Unfortunately, it seems like mine, the gasket leak, I don't know if you can see kind of up in there, the darker shading when we took the gasket off is probably where it was starting to leak and tick from. Can't really get a great angle on it. And to get this manifold out right here is a pretty big undertaking. I mean, this is a pretty hefty piece of equipment. The driver's side is definitely the worst side on these trucks. That's why it's usually the one that ticks the worst because it's never been addressed. We had to jack the motor up slightly and remove a whole lot of hardware to kind of get to it. And of course, the manifold bolts all had to be heated off just because, man, they were in there. This is not something that I don't think Toyota designed to really come off easily. And I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of commenters out there that have their own opinions on it. But you know, I wouldn't classify this as a DIY unless you've got a full weekend in a lift to kind of devote to it. But luckily, my buddies here at Sports Car Workshops were able to help me out with it a little bit. So hopefully, we can get that addressed. You know, I think this truck's kind of worth investing the time into. I thought about letting it tick for a while, but you know, it's just inevitably going to get worse. And if I ever do go to sell it one day, you know, it's one of the major maintenance items that most people go to look for. I did the brakes this year, brakes and rotors, ball joints. The Old Man Emu front shocks are about a year old. I replaced the steering rack here. And tie rods, and I mean a whole bunch of other things, you know. But yeah, you know, while it's up in the lift, I figured I'd give you a quick tour of the underbody too. You know, most guys really pride themselves on a rust-free underbody. Mine was a Denver, Texas truck, so it was fairly clean under here. It's pretty dirty right now, but no real major rust. I did have a slight driveline clunk, so we tightened up some of the transmission mount bushings, and that seemed to help a little bit. Obviously, you want to make sure you're greasing all your U-joints fairly frequently. You know, U-joints, drive shafts. There's a lot of little grease points on these trucks that people definitely seem to miss whenever they're up here messing around. I had a new back muffler welded in. It was improperly diag when I had the tick up here as a leaking muffler, so the muffler shop just slapped the muffler in. I didn't need it, but you know, it was about $90, so I can't really complain all that much. But yeah, pretty not rusty, pretty dirty under here. I went and used let's see, last year this Eastwood rust prevention kit. It worked fairly well, and I treated the whole frame underneath. It took me a while, but the results turned out very well. And you know, between this and the fluid film and everything the 100 guys use to really treat their truck, I think I did okay. But yeah, a couple other things with the truck: 305 KO2s all around. Haven't splurged for the fifth spare for my rotation yet. I'm going to get the oil changed while it's up here. I've done all the diffs about 20,000 miles ago, so they're okay. The previous owner did the timing belt, and what else did he do? Water pump and everything to do with that 100,000 mile service. Because remember, this truck only has 139,000, so it's still fairly fresh. I added the front mud flaps just to kind of help with the pitting you get from rocks if you're going down dirt roads. I will add sliders at some point. What else? I think that's really about it. I probably should do rear control arm bushings at some point. These Old Man Emu heavy duty rear shocks are approximately 50,000 miles old, so just preventatively I might replace that at some point as well. But that's really about it for now. I think I have a leak in the rear AC line. I lost AC earlier this year. That should be a quick fix to kind of get that buttoned up. But yeah, the big one is getting this manifold fixed. It's expensive, it's a pain in the ass, but sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and do the right thing and get it fixed, especially if it's a truck you think is worth holding on to, which obviously I do at this point. So that's phase one of that. I'll show you outside here in a second what I was doing to the rear hitch. That's not in the right spot. But yeah, so I ripped the rear hitch off. It was pretty rusty. It's probably the rustiest piece on the car. Sanded it down the best I could, treated it with all the Eastwood stuff, and I'm going to slap that back on the back of the car. One thing to really keep in mind, if you ever remove yours, if it is rusty, the captive nuts inside the frame rails can come loose. I didn't realize that. Probably put a lot more torque than either the air hammer or the electric impact, and on the passenger side, both the nuts broke loose from the frame. So that's gonna be a pain in the ass kind of getting it back in. Hopefully I'll be able to MacGyver something, or have the guys MacGyver something that'll really help fix that, and we'll be able to mount that back up and keep it secure. Also went ahead and reapplied the necessary treatment to the front skid plate just to give it another coating for the winter. After all this is said and done, I'm gonna hit it with some probably fluid film just in case. I don't drive the truck in the snowy winters, and here in Richmond we don't get a lot of salt on the road, so not too concerned with that, but just kind of something, again, it's all peace of mind at this point. So yeah, that's the Land Cruiser update. It's also really important, before I sign off here, to periodically pull the rear bumper off and check the rust that could accumulate on these support plates. It's always good to check the condition, make sure it's not deteriorated too bad. Mine doesn't look great. I treated it a little bit. I sanded it down some. I'm gonna probably have to address that some other point. You can see where someone backed into something at some point. So it's not, this truck's obviously not perfect, but it's decently clean. So yeah, that's the Land Cruiser update. Hopefully we'll get this thing all buttoned up by the end of the week, and I'll have it back on the road. But in the meantime, hopefully we'll get these issues straightened out. And yeah, stay tuned for some more Rover and Land Cruiser content. It's overwhelming, the amount of cars and stuff we have going on. So feel free to comment below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to follow along. Thanks.